great start. We've just found the young female leopard. It appears to be Xongile. And funnily enough, she looks like she's alone for the moment. I wonder if her mother, Karula, has left her in this area. Let's see if she has a drink though. She's walking around almost like she's searching for something. I was thinking she might come and have a drink. But what a fantastic surprise. Good morning, my name is Byron, and on camera this morning is Brian with me and the thumb, and then we have Jamie and Xongile on the other vehicle, and then of course Jerry and Rebecca in the final control. Now this is start. I was hoping to find Karula with the youngsters. That's what I came looking for this morning, and fortunately we've managed to bump into the young female. Now let's see if she does drink. That's a beautiful view of her. This is really a great treat. And don't forget, everyone, we are completely live, so send us your questions and your comments either on Twitter at #SafariLive or email us questions@WildEarthTV. And we'll gladly answer your questions and your comments. It's always great hearing from our viewers. This is very special. I'm so happy to see her. Now I wonder if the female has walked through here, the adult female, Karula. Alright, let me try reposition for us quickly. Oh dear. Liz, thank you very much. Maybe a little bit of luck, who knows. There we go. See, I always want to try and get a view of a leopard drinking, and especially photographers. Let's see, she seems a little bit cautious, almost like she's not too sure where she should be drinking. I'm still just scanning this area very carefully to see if the female isn't around. Karula. Or perhaps the other young cub, Hosanna. Oh, she is drinking. Now, that is wonderful. Now, you see, she's still nervous. You can see, typical young cub, she's not too sure what's in the water hole. There might be one or two little terrapins in there that are moving, and maybe she's a little nervous of the movement in the water. You know what, I can hear a few Franklins alarm calling just off to our left, so directly behind Xongile, down in the drainage line in the Mulwati. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe one or two of the other leopards are down there. And I will go have a look, but this is just such a lovely view. I'm going to see if I can't maybe reposition quickly. I'll tell you why, usually leopards, if they do drink for a while. She may be a little bit different. Let me just see. Bear with me for a second. Alright, while I get into position here, let's quickly head to Jamie and let her say good morning to you. Well, she's still sitting in front of the little water hole, the little pan. This is such a nice surprise. It is so great when your mornings start like this. It looks like that little dry spell that I had the other day is finished, which is nice. Oh, this little female is just wonderful. I was watching the footage that James got the other day, James and Xongile, with this female up in the tree, and how curious she was. And that is just an incredible experience. Such an amazing bit of interaction from a young leopard. And I have seen it before where young leopards are a bit curious, and we do still need to be careful, but it just shows, with us being out here and being respectful of the animals and taking our time, tracking, following them. Occasionally the young animals do get quite curious, and they will come have a look and see or investigate rather. But that was just an incredible sighting that he had. And this too, just to see her exploring, it is wonderful. This is so great. It really is so great. And I really do enjoy seeing leopards at this age because, as I said, it's this exploring stage where the female will potentially leave her cubs for a little bit longer periods of time, and when she does that, they'll explore, they'll move around a little bit more than usual. They'll go and have a look what is around, just like Xongile is doing now, having a look around this mud wallow. It's almost like she's coming to pose for us, so close to us. There's maybe a nice view of spot patterns. Those of you who would like to get a look at a spot pattern, she appears to be a 4-3 from what I can see. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the left, and then, well, as I'm looking at her, 4 on the left, so that would be the 4 on her right hand side of her face, and then the 3 spots on the other side, just above that whisker line. That's usually how we do identify leopards, it's by the spot pattern. So she appears to be a 4-3 because each of those spots are unique, and especially those 4 on this side are very clear. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, and then that 4th one just a little bit above the smaller spot. So Gabriel Norton, you're a new viewer, and welcome to you. Lovely to have you on Safari Live. And you wanted to know, is it usual for a leopard to go to a waterhole by itself? Well, yes, it is, because leopards are generally solitary animals, so they move around by themselves. The reason why I'm surprised to see this female by herself is and exploring a waterhole by herself is because she's still young, and she does rely a lot on the mother, the female, who still provides food for her, but it's not unusual to see a leopard at a waterhole by itself, not by any stretch of imagination. They are solitary animals, and when they do move around, it's by themselves, and they'll go and drink by themselves. But I've got a feeling that either the adult female or the young male, who is her brother, is around in this area. Just because I heard some Franklin alarm calling in the drainage lines, and she came out of that area, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're down there somewhere. Perhaps the female has moved off trying to hunt, and she's left these 2 youngsters in this area. Who knows? Oh, excuse me. Sorry. And as Franklin's calling again. Michelle, you wanted to know what age would we expect to see Xongile make her first kill? So she's still very young, and for the moment she would try and hunt perhaps squirrels, as we saw them try to do the other day. Her and her young brother hunted a squirrel, maybe a francolin or two. So they'd be learning at this age, but not old enough and not big enough to really hunt anything large yet, or any antelope just yet. I would say on average, Michelle, it's probably about just over a year. So anywhere between a year and 3 months to a year and a half, then they would have to start hunting for themselves. And that's usually the age that leopard cubs become independent, where the females do tend to chase them off. The average age is about a year and a half. So by that stage, they would have to be able to hunt for themselves. But I think these little cubs are just a little bit too young still, but they'll be learning, perhaps learning from the female, trying to watch her. This is lovely. There's birds calling in the distance. Cape turtle doves this morning calling. There is a grey-headed bush shrike in the distance. Let's see what she does. It's almost like she's just coming to have a look, exploring, wondering what is around this waterhole. And she keeps having a look at us. Wonder if she wants us to. It's almost like she's just so comfortable with us being around that she's just checking that if we see anything perhaps of interest, that we could show her. And typical cub behavior, little restless, moving around quite a bit. And also we're so fortunate, it's nice and cool at the moment, so she'll probably be a lot more active than she usually is, moving about, having a look. Let's see where she goes. But I wonder where the others are. It would be wonderful if all three of them were out here drinking at the waterhole. That would be really amazing. Rob, I don't think this cub is nervous. Well, to an extent. I think she's cautious because she's alone. She's learning. She's by herself. For the first few months of her life, the two young cubs would be left together. And we've seen lately, the last week or so, the young male has wandered off quite a bit by himself. We saw him yesterday afternoon. And now the young female's wandering off a little bit by herself. So this is all a learning process. I wouldn't say they're nervous. And I mean, for her to lie down like that, she's definitely not nervous. If a leopard was nervous, it would run away and try and hide from anything. I think she's just cautious and learning. She's having a look around. What is around here? And as I said, because they're so curious, they're looking. Perhaps she's looking for some food. What is around that she could potentially play with or try and hunt and learn how to hunt. So, I don't think it's a case of her looking nervous at all. It's just very inquisitive, constantly looking around, seeing what is moving around her. That's all. Michael, it's not really instinctual for young cubs just to move off away from the females. You wanted to know how will they move off, or how will they know. So usually the female just tells them. She will hiss and growl a bit at them, and she basically chases them away. That's usually how it happens. However, some females are a little bit more tolerant than others. I've seen some females allow their cubs to hang around for up to 2 years, which is unusual. But then I've also seen a female leave her cub and chase her cub away at a year old. So it does vary, depends on the leopard. But the females are the ones that generally warn the cubs. They hiss, they growl, and they usually don't go back and fetch them. So some arrow-marked babblers calling in the distance. We can hear. Mario, you wanted to know why don't we see the male leopard as much? Now, Mario, are you referring to the young male cub or males in general? I think one of the main reasons would be the last few days. The big males, the big dominant males, their territories are much larger than females. So they're possibly just patrolling territories and maybe have a kill somewhere, and we just haven't seen them for a while. We saw Tingana not too long ago, I think 3 or 4 days ago. He is the big dominant male that patrols this area generally. There are other males around, and they do come in to the area occasionally, but because males are so territorial, they don't really cross over into each other's territory. And for this area, we've got about 3 or 4 different females that we see on a fairly regular basis. There was Shadow yesterday, and there was Karula. This little one was seen, and then obviously the young male was seen, her brother, but he's a young male, not territorial yet at all. Obviously he's still hanging around with the mother, but I think it's purely because in terms of territory size, males are bigger, females are smaller, so you might get more females in a smaller area, whereas you'd probably only have one male moving around. That's a lovely yawn. Cleaning herself, and big cats do this quite regularly. They do clean themselves, especially leopards. Especially after they've fed on something. And yesterday the female did go and fetch these cubs and bring them all the way down here. They were not in this area yesterday morning. They were quite far from here, a few miles away. But the female went and fetched them. She did have a kill. So they possibly fed a little bit last night or yesterday, and maybe still just cleaning herself. Now, Roger, the leopards, they do call when they are looking for one another at times, but you must remember, Roger, leopards generally, I mean, they're solitary animals, so they don't usually call to look or find one another, look for one another or find one another. They will call for territorial purposes, to warn other leopards that this is their territory. This young female wouldn't necessarily call, because I think she's been left here on purpose by the mother. So she knows just to keep quiet. She doesn't want to draw attention to herself either. If she constantly called, other predators like hyena or lions, if they were around, might come and investigate. She doesn't want to draw attention to herself. So no, I don't think there's any reason for her to call. And she'll just wait, hang around here, and wait for the female to come back. We were just fortunate that she came out and we found her. But generally speaking, when they are left on their own, then they'll stay on their own and just wait for the female to return. So there's no reason for her to call now. They do give the females, when they come back to find the cubs, she will give a little call, and it's like a little ow, 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 to try and call the cubs, and they'll then know it's her, and they'll come running out and find her. But for the cubs to call the female, only when she gets there. They won't call unnecessarily. All right, well, what an incredible start. I'm going to sit here a little bit longer because this is such a wonderful sighting. But Jamie has found some other big cats to show you.